able to make it. But tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing Steve Gonzales. Steve is one of our strategists here at TrueVeer, and he is local to the area. Big Vallejo guy. We were just talking about that earlier. He wasn't born here, but he might as well have been here. Might as well have been born here. So he's a great guy to chat about annuities with because he has personal experience with these things. And I'm just going to hand it over to him and let him get started here. Steve?
Cool. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody good?
Amazing.
Day?
Sure.
Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is annuities. If you're unfamiliar with annuities, what they are is like having another like an additional pension plan. Myself, I have a pension plan from when I worked. I worked a number of years in the retail industry. Retired some few years back. Put my time in. I had time with the labor union, time with the company, and my age was able to get a pension. So these days, a lot of companies don't have pensions necessarily. They have 401ks and some other things. So sometimes people don't have a pension, so they're looking for other means to take care of that. So what an annuity does, it's a contract with a life insurance company, put money into an account with the company, and they will basically manage that money for you, and they will give you at some point basically a retirement income for the rest of your life. So I'll go into some of the different annuities that are available out there, kind of pros and cons of them, what it can do. So it's kind of like for better words, is a retirement paycheck. So this is kind of like a blueprint on how you can do that, create another like another type of a pension plan, or it's kind of like Social Security, but so we'll just refer to kind of like as an additional pension plan. So basically, we're going to talk about how to turn the savings into a retirement paycheck. One of the important things is you're going to create income that you can never outlive. So even if the money is depleted in the account, say you put X amount of money into the account, and then you actually live longer than anticipated, and you deplete all the funds that were there, the company's still going to give you a paycheck for the rest of your life. So again, money you can't outlive. You can protect your retirement savings, retire with confidence and clarity, which is pretty important. It was an important thing for me. So give you a little background on myself. So I first saw some information roughly about 5, 6 years ago. I got a little card through the mail, come to this retirement seminar, blah, blah, blah. Didn't pay too much attention to it. My wife and I, you know, my kids at the time we were empty nesters, and it was at a nice restaurant down on the waterfront here in Vallejo. So we decided to go. Weren't intent on really, we'll say, pay attention necessarily. The intention was to go and listen and just go and have a good dinner. It was a well-known restaurant with a beautiful view of the Mare Island area there in the water. And we went, but the information we got just totally basically opened both of our eyes. And we came out of that saying, we didn't realize the things that they were talking about could actually happen. So our thought going into it was, we put money in our 401k, and it's going to be safe, and you're going to make all kinds of money for your retirement and then live the rest of your life. One of the things that we learned was, because of 401ks involved directly in the stock market, you can actually lose money in the 401k. And what we learned at that dinner that night was that even though the market was strong at the time, it's been overdue for an adjustment, and an adjustment probably in not so good of a way. So what happened, 6 years ago, back in the year 2020, we had the COVID epidemic, and a lot of friends of mine that were really close to retirement at that time, they had to put up their retirement by, 4 years, 5 years period of time because they lost money in their 401k. But because we took some steps to protect some of the money that we had in a 401k, we weren't affected by that market change. So since then, the market has still done pretty well, um, probably extraordinarily well, probably much better than what it really should be. So my opinion is, we're still due for an adjustment downwards with it. So this can be a way to protect some of the money that you might have at risk. So this is kind of a maybe a not good way to put it necessarily, but uh, the title is, what most people do wrong. So I'm not going to really refer to it as people do wrong, but it's maybe just not getting the proper amount of information. So basically, it's like I was taught when I was younger, you know, go to school, get a job, get a good education, get a good job, put your money in the bank, you'll be taken care of. So the focus was on saving my money. So I did that, saved up a good chunk of money that I used that to buy my house. So then all that money that I had saved up, I used to buy my house, and then I didn't have a backup. I got married and had kids, and started living that circle of things, paycheck to paycheck, and that. Um, so they focus on saving the money, but they don't build an income plan. So they hope the market cooperates. So when I talk about building an income plan, is hedging some of your money and setting it aside to where it's not, you don't have the market risk with it, which is very important because um, we don't know what the future is going to hold. And sorry about that, but my computer's not. Here it goes. We're good. Okay. So a simple solution, create a retirement paycheck. That's an annuity plan. Protects part of your money, build income you can count on. So um, we're probably all familiar with Shaquille O'Neal, the NBA Hall of Famer. He's all over the TV all the time, the commercials and lots of business ventures and that. One of the things he did when he was very early in his career, he was making a lot of money, but he spent a lot of money, spent a lot of money on just whatever he wanted. He had the money, was going to do it. So he kind of he kind of had an awakening one day, and he's thinking, if I keep this up, I'm not going to have money later on when I really need the money, when I'm not no longer creating income from being an NBA player. What am I going to do? So he went to a mentor of his, somebody who was much older. And he says, learn this word. Learn annuities. Because when you learn that, understand that, it's a way that you can have an income for the rest of your life, guaranteed. So what's annuity? Annuity can turn savings into income. You put your money in, receive money back over time. Like I said, you put a certain amount into the annuity, it'll grow. There's some different types of annuities, which I'll go over shortly. Um, I have my preference on what to use, um, but depends. Some people may be a little more risky with their money. I'm pretty conservative when it comes to money because basically because of my age. I'm a little bit older and I don't have a lot of time uh, to let it sit and take a lot of risk. So um, so basically, it's just a way to create income for the rest of your life. So why do people use annuities? So it's income they can't outlive, protection from the market loss, peace of mind, and retirement. Another addition to the annuities that I think is very important. Number one, um, even though it's with a life insurance company, you're not required to take a medical exam for the annuity. And number two, because we are living older now, um, a lot of people are getting later in life and they don't have, they've used up all the savings that they had, and I'll just go through an example with that. My parents are still alive, and my dad is in his mid 90s. My mom just is in her early 90s. And fortunately, they have some money set aside. But with the care that they currently need and will need in the future, they'll actually probably be okay. But it's going to take a lot of the chunk of the money that they have saved their whole life for. So an annuity can help with that. And one of the things that it'll help with is if for some reason, somewhere in the future, we have some type of a health issue where, for whatever reason, we're um, laid up for a period of time through an injury or whatever, or if we develop some type of a disease, the annuity can actually help you provide income during that time period. Or if it's some type of a terminal illness, it will help you provide a little extra income during that time, when you really need it. The annuities can provide, the companies will provide like double or triple the income amount, and then it just gives you a little bit of a little bit more security. So three main types of annuities. There are fixed annuities, variable annuities, and fixed index annuities. What I like are the fixed index annuities, and I'll get into that in a minute here. Um, the fixed annuities, basically, you can earn um, probably on the average about 4 to 5%. Just a fix. It's um, like a savings account that's going to pay a little bit more money. Your money's not at risk with that, but you have potential to actually make a little bit more with some of the other ones. So then the fixed annuities are very safe, are guaranteed interest, and they're protected from the market losses, which is pretty critical because one of the whole ideas for the annuities is one of the keys, in my opinion, is to protect it from the market losses. And that's what actually um, opened my mind to the possibility of this. And then we experienced it, like I said, back during the COVID epidemic. Um, it hit, things shut down, and people were losing money in their 401ks and because of the downswings in the market. So variable annuities, they're connected to the market. They can grow more, but they can also lose value because they're connected to the market. So if the market goes down, the money you have in your annuity, you can actually lose money. So it's just like same risk as a 401k. You can definitely make some money with it, based on the market does really well. Um, but there's that risk. And like I said, for me, um, I don't have the time to really put funds that I have that I might need, uh, 10, 15, 20 years down the line and beyond to lose some of that money. So fixed index annuities, so you have a growth potential, protection from market losses because it's not in the market. You get the gains with it. Um, so you get the gains up to a cap. When the market does well, you get a little bit of extra income with that. Balanced retirement option. So one of the companies that we work with, one of the insurance companies, they provide a very good annuity, and so they have two options with a couple of their annuities. So one offers, I think, like a 40% bonus with your money. You can put your money into the account with the insurance company. You can have access to it right away if you want to. You'll get a little bit of a bonus on that money. I believe it's like 40% on top of whatever money. So if you put 100,000 into it, you get an extra 40,000 for your retirement income portion of it. If you have a little bit of time, um, and you want to wait, say, around 10 years or so, um, so they will put it into some indexes in the market. You will not lose money into it. You'll get some of the gains if the market performs well, but they will give you a 52% bonus on for the income part of that annuity. Uh, so if you had $100,000, you get an extra 52,000 for your retirement income. So income for life, another key for the annuities. It's like like I said, so it's monthly income. They're going to give you an amount of income like a paycheck every month, um, basically for the rest of your life. So it's like a personal pension fund designed to last as long as you live. Um, and that's really key too, because if you rely on the savings, like talking about in the early slides, once that money is gone, and then you no longer have that, um, you just don't have that money to live on. With the annuity, it gives you income for the rest of your life. So, real client story, retired couple, they wanted certainty. They created some protection for their monthly income. Now they enjoy retirement with confidence. So the whole thing with the annuities, because it does provide an income for the rest of your life, it helps you budget. You can know exactly what kind of income you have coming in, especially if you have, if you want to factor in Social Security, if you have any kind of a pension or 401ks, whatever it might be. So the annuities are um, not an end all be all for basically your income for your future, but it can be a really important part of whatever your financial picture wants to look at, because you have um, amount of income you're going to get monthly and continue for the rest of your life, which is a real key. So the cost of waiting. Um, so ideally for an annuity, annuities can be started at any time. If you're young, that's great. Um, I would not advise putting a lot of money into an annuity early in your life. I'd say probably an ideal age would probably be around 4 years of age, because you're kind of at the midpoint in your life. You're not quite retirement yet, but you have some time before you might want to retire. So you have some time for your funds to build in there. Um, and then so basically lost time, lost potential growth in the annuity. So if you wait to do it until you're 65, 70 years old, because you don't have uh, a lot of time per se left in your life, you could potentially lose out on more gains and have less money to live on later in life. And then again, if the cost of wait is more uncertainty later. So retirement should be about living. Um, so one of the things for myself, um, I used to kind of, once I retired, I was good with that probably for about the first couple years, and I figured would might maybe work some part-time stuff just kind of for fun, create a little extra income. My wife is still working. Actually, she's still working currently even, because we have some things we have to take care of. With I have a daughter in going to nursing school, so we're still paying for some tuition with that. So, um, so retirement is just, part of it for me is with our annuity that we have. I can sleep well at night because at one point I was kind of concerned about, what am I going to do for money later in life? I knew we had the 401k and had some savings in that, but it was kind of like, what's going to happen if I don't have enough? So now I actually I don't really worry about that because we have some funds set aside that we're never going to lose, and currently we're actually making uh, probably on the average probably above 8% year after year. Well, actually, in the last year with our annuity, so we did pretty well. Did okay. Um, there may be other ways you could put your money into that could bring higher returns, but the thing is what are the cost of that? What is the risk of that? And I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to take risk. I'm just risk averse. I just don't have the risk tolerance. So this is just my contact information here. If anybody wants to some more information on these, how they might work, how they can fit in your financial portfolio, um, all my information is here. You can book an appointment, or we can go over all the things with you and answer your questions, whatever it is that you need. So with that, I am pretty much done. So we can go if there's any questions anybody has or anything. We can answer that. If you want to shout out your questions, you can put them in the chat, whatever it is you want.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you, Steve.
No questions?
Um, yeah, well, I guess I'll ask a couple questions. So, um, I guess one of the things is if I were to put money in an annuity, right? What's the liquidity of that look like? How can I at any point access that, or is it kind of tied up until?
So it depends. Like I said, there's different types of annuities, and so we have a fixed index annuity. So we chose the annuity where we don't have access to it for like a 10-year period. So it's going to accumulate growth. But if in an
Hmm,
emergency we needed access to that, we can access a certain portion of that. So we can do that, but we'd have to pay a little bit of a penalty and pay taxes on it. So it depends how it's set up.
gotcha.
There's immediate annuities where you can have access to that money right away. If you want to do income from it, you can let it sit if you want to. It's just the bonus structure um, is different. So you got not going to make as much money over the long term of it because you're accessing it right away. It doesn't have the time to grow. Does that answer your
I
question,
see.
kind of?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, yeah, no, definitely. And like every carrier is different, so it's
They,
gonna
they
be,
are, and like
yeah.
we took out our annuity like 6 years ago or whatever, and shortly after we did that, um, we had an emergency. Um, the the heater in my house totally went out, and that was a nice chunk of change. So we actually had to use our annuity to kind of pay for that. Had to take it out, pay a little bit of penalty for it, but it was there. So
Mm.
in an emergency, and it came up, and we did what we had to do with it. Preferably, we wouldn't
Yeah,
have had to
still
do
had some
that,
access.
but you never know. If an emergency does come up, it is accessible.
Yeah, and I think one thing I do want to point out with annuities is like it has the capability of having an IRA chassis, meaning that let's say you did have a floating 401k, you can roll that into an indexed annuity, but the chassis or the vehicle would be IRA, so it's going to be taxed just like how an IRA would be. So some strategies can be included with, Roth conversions, right? Somebody has a large IRA balance, it's tax deferred. They want to transfer some over to a Roth and have tax-free income. So that can be a good component of it as well too. So it just comes down to, the type of annuity, like what you said, Steve. There's different types where you can draw income immediately and then there's different another one where it's a 10-year period. There's also 7-year periods, but there's flexibility in income options. I think that's something too that could kind of be misunderstood when it comes to annuities, is that there's different I guess levers you can pull when it comes to, you
Hmm.
know, setting up the annuity, because you can turn on income in year three and with some vehicles. You can turn on income in year two if you wanted to, but it just comes down to what the individual wants, right? And if they
Yeah.
want to basically allocate some of their risk profile into something that's safe, has upside potential, downside protection, that's where the index annuity would come in. And on top of that, they have I guess you can say a private pension plan, right?
Yeah.
So, so there's just like the different levers, and there's always like a gray area when it comes to setting these up, just because it depends on the goal, right? If you're 40 and you
Yeah.
have like maybe 20 years until retirement, okay, let's put you into a long-term annuity. That's guaranteed lifetime income, right? Now, if you have something where you're within 5 years, I've even had a scenario where I have a case study actually where the individual's retiring this year, right? So she has her husband's pension, she has her own pension as well, something from I believe it's a 403B because she works for a community college. So again, it just comes down to, structuring the annuity for the individual's goals. So
Yeah.
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 Like all the
And it'll fit.
financial things, it depends on what the goal is, you know,
Yeah.
different things for different goals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can tailor it to the specific situation for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
Oh,
says,
Ada has a question. Go ahead, Ada. I
Yeah,
hope I'm saying that right.
yes, you are. Thank you so much for the presentation. Yeah, I learned a lot. I didn't know much about annuities. I have two questions. So, kind of related to what you guys were just talking about. I'm younger. I'm not near retirement yet, like still 15, 20 years out. Can
Mhm.
you start with the variable, like something more risky, and then switch to fixed later? Or is that like different? Like, is an annuity a continuous thing, or can you have multiple, and how does that work?
You want to go ahead,
Great
Steve?
question.
go ahead, Justin. Uh, I'll let you answer that one. That's a
Okay.
little,
Well, so with the variable, yes, like there is going to be upside and downside. Like you can always switch up the allocations if you do get a variable annuity. Just the only thing with a variable annuity, there's also management fees as well on top of that. So the difference between a variable and an indexed annuity is that there's no, as I guess you can say, AUM, or assets under management fee. So um, you can switch up the allocations. It just depends on how you structure it. That's really what it is. I mean, that's kind of going to be our answer, right? It's going to be dependent upon that. And then if you want to do something higher risk, okay, there is going to be some with a higher fee, but it's going to give you much more upside potential. So, so yeah, you can always change it up. And you can also have multiple as well too.
yeah. Yeah, I think is, part of it is the key is, it's kind of like the saying goes, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you're young, use a portion of what you might have to secure and provide some lifetime income. You can always take out another one later in life as you get closer to retirement. You can do some now. It depends on the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. And then in general, just because I'm so new at this, like, what is the minimum you have to put in to start it? I was kind of curious, like for a fixed annuity, what's generally the interest? Is it interest rate, or I'm just like trying to figure out the math of how this works.
Yeah, so with fixed annuities, it's just going to be basically your prime rate, right? So there's going to be what's called a MIGA, which is a multi-year guaranteed annuity. So that's fixed. Usually that's right around 4 to 5%. Sometimes it's 5 years and you hold it in. It's almost like a very long-term CD,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Hmm.
so so now there are minimums. It just depends on which, I guess, company you go with. Because I know Allianz, for example, they have some products that are minimum at 10,000, some products that are minimum at 20,000. So now if it's going to be contributory, that's a whole different story. So now you can actually set up an annuity via IRA, and you can contribute to that year over year. So it just depends. I guess fixed annuities have a fixed interest rate. Fixed index annuities have a little bit more upside potential with the index, right? S&P 500, Bloomberg, PIMCO, whatever it may be. And then the variable is also has unlimited upside potential, but also unlimited downside. So that's where it's like it can kind of like variable annuities can look really good, but at the same time, actually reviewed a variable annuity from New York Life, not to call out any companies, but I reviewed one, and so there's the mutual fund that they had it in that charged a fee on top of the fees that it had already built into it. So imagine if the market goes down, then you need that money, and then you have to still pay that fee. So it's just I think, in my opinion, this is just from my experience. Variable annuities aren't necessarily, I guess, the best structured product. You're better off just going with an IRA, right, and investing into the S&P.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
so sorry, that was kind of a long-winded answer. Sorry about that.
No,
But
it's really
yeah,
helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the keys with the
yeah,
annuities
and
is you want to have some protection for your money. Um, like I said,
mhm.
that was a big motivation for my wife and I, because if we learned that night that your money can be at risk if it's in a 401k, and then it happened. So I kind of almost felt like somebody was kind of whispering in my ear to pay attention, and this can happen, and then it happened, and so I always, when I talk to people, I tell them that, we experienced it. Fortunately, we took the steps to protect some of our income, because it did happen. And I don't have a crystal ball. Um, so I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but, I just know from the past that things are pretty risky right now in the market. So,
Mm.
Yeah. If I could piggyback one more thing on top of that is to say, I know we're talking about annuities, but there are strategies that we develop with different products at different stages of life. So, if it all depends on your goals. And of course,
yeah.
that's where you have to have the conversation with someone. But if the goal is to obviously maximize as much money as you can in that short amount of time, but maybe you don't have too much to start with, maybe the annuity isn't the right vehicle for you, right? There are other things like, I don't know if you've been to our other webinars, but like I broke down whole life. We've done IULs and stuff like that. And that's just product names for you right now, especially if you said you're pretty new to it. But there's other things that are safe that give you growth that work similarly, that we kind of handle. So yeah, if you ever want to explore that and help us get the whole picture to give you some good information, that would be, any of us would be happy to sit with you and listen, right? Because that's what we do. We assess where you're at and kind of advise as to what steps could take you to where you want to be.
yeah,
But if
so
anyone, go ahead, sorry.
real quick, I'm going to send in a playlist of our video. I'm not sure if you received it, Ada, or I believe Martin as well. Um, I'm going to send in a YouTube link for our
Nice, yeah.
playlist. Yeah, so our past playlist. I still have to add a few more videos. It's basically public, but I'm gonna add that to this. Let's see here.
Yeah, great questions though. Anybody have any other questions?
Don't be shy.
Yeah, I know we love questions.
So Ada, just a question for you. What brought you onto the call?
I actually haven't been able to make your last few, and today I could, but I didn't know anything about annuities, so that's why I was really interested. Yeah, these are great. Thank you so much for doing it.
Why?
I would say
Yeah.
they're not,
Our pleasure. We love this stuff.
yeah, the annuities are not something that's um extremely well known in the market. Those that have some exposure to financial vehicles and that may know about them. In the general public, they may not be as well known.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess we could call it early if nobody has any other questions. If I've got to start saying this at the end of every one of these things, but if you guys have specific topics that you would like discussed, you can drop them in the chat, or you could send us a message and we'd be happy to cover it, because, we don't know what you guys don't know. And if we can help shed some light on a specific topic that we can help with, well, absolutely. So if that's everything, I think we'll call it a little early today. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, unless somebody has any questions or anything.
Going once, twice,
Yeah. Just one comment. Sorry, just one
sold.
comment. Yeah. So there's the YouTube playlist. We're going to be having this recording in there as well too. There's a few videos that we've missed from prior weeks. But thank you for coming on, and always feel free to add um, other other individuals. I said this last week, but if you know anyone or if you have anyone that would be interested in these sessions, always feel free to add them to these calls. And then from there, I mean, it really is
Yep.
just giving back the information.
Yeah, yeah. Ultimately, the goal of these Wednesday sessions that we do are for really for educational purposes. It's not a push to create sales. Part of the vision that Justin had when he started this company is to educate the public on the way a lot of these things work. I know when I was growing up, and as even up into my retirement years, I didn't have access to a lot of this information. I didn't know it, but I learned it over time, and I educated myself. So I think these sessions can be very valuable for everybody. But again, these aren't sales presentations. They're based for education only.
Awesome.
Exactly. Very well said. All right, everybody. Have a great night. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week.